Okay, so I've had some requests. We're working on finding screen sizes using Excel or setting up Excel so I can do that. Let me get this out of the way. Okay. So basically when we buy a TV or whatever, we're given the diagonal dimension. So if you buy a 55-inch TV, it's not 55 inches wide. It's 55 inches on the diagonal. And then they tell you the aspect ratio, which is a basic shape of the rectangle, and it's kind of a proportional thing. So current aspect ratio is 16 to 9, which means this A value down here is 16. This is a 9. So we're going to treat these like similar triangles. And we already went over that in class. I have a different video, but this is just to set up the Excel. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add a title. So I clicked and I selected those. I go up here to merge, and I'm going very fast because I have a 5-minute time limit on this. Okay, so I'm going to call this screen size. And I usually bold my titles, so I'm going to bold it. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just so that it's easy to tell that that's the title. And I'm going to click here and underline. Okay, the first thing I need is my input stuff. The only input values I have, so let's say you have a 55-inch TV and it's an aspect ratio of 59, 16 to 9, sorry. So this is 55 inches. And it's a 16 to 9 aspect ratio. That's what you'll see on the sign when you're buying it. So those are these two measures and this measure right here, but I want to know the width and the height so I know if it'll fit in my spot in my living room. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to set up my inputs. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to put the diagonal measurement. So diagonal measurement. I'm going to call it D. Notice that autofilled because I already had a word that started with a D, diagonal measurement. So if I start typing D, it wants to fill it in. To get that to go away, just push the space bar. There we go. So my D value is 45. Any numbers that we're going to use for calculation have to be only just the numbers. So this is, or 55, sorry. This is 55 inches, but I'm not going to put the inches in that cell because if I do, Excel won't calculate with it. I'm going to add that in later just to show you. Okay, so now I have my aspect ratio. So I'm going to put aspect ratio. And I'll probably go back and bold these and underline them and stuff later. Okay, so I have my A value and my B value. Notice that again said aspect ratio, so I put a space bar. My A is 16, my B is 9. Those are my inputs. So now that I'm ready with my inputs, I want to start the calculations. So I'm going to merge and center. And I'm going to put here calculations. Try to spell it right. Okay. Now, anything in the calculation section, this is important. We want Excel to do this for us. We don't want to have to change the calculation every single time. What we want is we want a few limited input values. So I'm going to highlight my inputs like this. Okay, so this tells me, okay, every time I see this yellow, then I need to put an input value there. Go ahead and underline that. I'm pushing Control B for bold. You can push this little B up here. This also bolds it, but I've been doing this for a while, so I just use the shortcut method. There we go. I'm all set up. Now I want to underline this. So I have my input values. That's these three. Those are the only things I touch. Like once I set this up, if I go back in and I want to calculate other things, the only things I change are the ones that are in these yellow boxes. Everything else I don't touch. It's going to automatically update. Okay. When we did this in class, the first thing we did is these are similar triangles. So in order to find out W and H, which I don't know, I only know D, right? That's 55. But since I only know one side, I don't have enough information to solve for these. On this little triangle, I have 16 and 9, and all I'm looking for is this third side. And since I have two sides, I can solve for that one. I can use Pythagorean theorem, right? And then once I have my C value, because they're similar triangles, what happens is to go from this little one and scale up to the big one, I multiply by a number. We're going to call it a scale factor, but you multiply by that same number to get each of the similar sides. So to find that scale factor, I just need two similar sides. So I need the C value and the D value. So that's what we're going to find first. So we're going to apply a Pythagorean theorem. And Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I'm going to type a squared. I'm going to type b squared. And I'm going to type c squared because I'm cool like that. Okay. And I'm going to make these bold because I want everything to look good. And now I can start my actual calculations. So in Excel, to make it do actual calculations, the first thing you have to do is you have to give it some kind of a keyword, like a password that or a code word that says, hey, wake up, do math. Because if I just come over here, like let's say I put 5 plus 3, I want it to add, but if I just type 5 plus 3, it just leaves it at 5 plus 3. It doesn't actually do anything. So I need to say the magic word. The magic word for Excel is equals. So if I put equals 5 plus 3, now it actually does it. So the equals says, hey, wake up, whatever I type after that, do that. So, okay. So I want to square my A value. So I go equals. And this is important. So we're going to refer back to these cells. Once we start in our calculation section, we're not going to hard code these in, meaning we're not going to type these numbers. We just want to refer back to these numbers because that way, if I change these numbers, then it changes automatically. So I feel like I'm running out of time. How much time do I have? I don't know. Okay. Feels like it's been 5 minutes. Okay, so I want this to be squared, and the one I want is A. So I go equals. I'm going to click on 16. And notice it put 16's location instead of putting 16. So whatever is in cell B7, that's what it's going to do. So I type equals, click on 16, and then I'm going to go Shift 6. Shift 6 gives us that little caret sign that's the raised to the power of, and then 2. And I hit enter, and it squares it by itself. Now I'm going to do the same thing for b squared. I go equals. I click on my b value, which is 9, Shift 6, and the number 2. Enter. It gives me 81. Getting fancy now. Okay, so now I know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, so what I want to do is I want to add those up. So I'm going to go equals. I click on the first one that I want to add, plus, which is Shift equals, and then I click on the second one that I want to add. And then I hit enter, and that's my c value. Okay, I really do feel like I'm about to run out of time. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared, so now we have c squared equals 337. Well, if we want c by itself, because we don't want c squared, we want c. So to get c by itself, what I have to do is I have to undo this squared thing, right? Because it's c squared. So to undo a square, I square root. In Excel, to square root, we use a built-in function. We go equals, and we type sqrt for square root. Open parentheses, which is Shift and 9. We click on the number that we want to take the square root of. Close parentheses, which is Shift and 0, and then enter. And now we have our c value. This is very good. Okay, I'm going to stop right here at the c value because I know it's about to cut me off. Like, there's no way I'm not going over my time limit. Okay, I'm going to continue this on the next video.